Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Dudes and Beer podcast, now brought to you by Audible. If you're a fan of audiobooks like I am, just don't have time to turn a page, go on by audibletrial.com/dudes today to get your free 30-day trial. Tons of books on there, tons of entertainment. audibletrial.com/dudes is that site. Once again, everybody, welcome. Thank you for the years of support. The hours and hours and hours of listening time that we have had together, sharing stories, listening to people's stories. Tonight, we will be listening to the amazing story of one Mr. Bill Foster, former Texas educator and education administrator turned actor, film producer, as well as vineyard owner. He is the owner of Quail Whistle Vineyard. We'll be talking about, you guys know how much I love sustainable living, things like that. We brought it to you before with the Backyard Chicken program here in Austin. We've been wanting to bring more and more to you. We've talked about sustainable energy with people in the energy department in Austin, sustainable programs that they had going on. But we're trying to bring it to more of a personal aspect and what you can do. So tonight we're going to be talking to Bill Foster, owner of Quail Whistle Vineyards, about what it takes to start your own vineyard, how you can do one in your own backyard to produce your own wine at home, all kinds of great stuff. Right after this quick report from our in-house reporter, John Bound from dailynewscollective.com.
There can be no hiding it now. Any and all views that go against the totalitarian left will be silenced, regardless of whether or not those views violated any policy. This movement that defies our First Amendment rights is led by a growing uptick in Marxism rotting America's higher education. Back in 2016, Campus Reform wrote, Professors Joshua Dunn of the University of Colorado and John A. Shields of Claremont McKenna College discovered about 18% of social scientists in the United States self-identify as Marxists, compared to only about 5% who identify as conservatives, and that was pre-Trump administration.
Sure, maybe there's a couple more lefties than you'd expect, but it's having no meaningful impact on our ability to have serious discourse.
That would be false. In a study, gender studies, for example, the field is defined by a set of principles that most conservatives wouldn't agree with. For example, the fashion now is intersectionality. And you will find many departments now, but especially gender studies, explicitly saying we are committed to intersectional analysis of society, and that means they view American society as a matrix of oppression. There is a fallacy at the heart of this theory, which is that ostensibly it's trying to discourage sexism, racism, classism, but to discourage it, it practices them. Everything that the intersectional feminists say that the patriarchal oppressor does, to them, that they are excluded, silenced, marginalized, otherized, they actually do that, they try to do that to the guilty, sinful, male privileged elite. And so you have a lot on the campus now, a lot of very ugly situations.
Recently, a team of George Washington University researchers released a paper last month which demands the mass banning of conservatives on social media and the reconstruction of a COINTELPRO-esque infiltration of so-called hate groups. The term hate groups has morphed into a definition of any group the ADL and Silicon Valley deem counter to their globalist vision for the United States. And now the Federal Election Committee, led by liberal chairwoman Ellen Weintraub, is summoning Facebook, Google, and Twitter to a meeting on September 17th to address digital disinformation amid concerns that new forms of Russian-style social media manipulation will target the 2020 election, according to Politico. The Politico article goes on to reveal the event will address growing concerns about homegrown disinformation too, as the Russia narrative twists in the wind. Apparently it is now all hands on deck in a full-blown censorship rollout ahead of the 2020 election, which is already sizing up to be stolen by the Democrats.
And when I have to explain the Electoral College, I always get this kind of perplexed look.
It's like a tennis match, and if you win the set, then you get all the points. And
then they say, but why do people accept that? And what I have historically said is, well, in the end, it usually doesn't matter. Historically, most elections, the person who wins the Electoral College is also the person who wins the popular vote, so everybody's happy. But of course, more recently, that hasn't been happening all the time. And I worry that just like these other countries the people from other countries were confused about it, that people in our own country will come to feel that the result is not legitimate. There is no evidence of rampant voter fraud in 2016 or really in any previous election. People have studied this. Academics have studied this. Lawyers have studied this. The government has studied this. Democrats have studied this. Republicans have studied this. And no one can find any evidence of rampant voter fraud, either historically or particularly in the 2016 elections. I think it is damaging to our democracy to spread information like that if there is no proof. Now, if there is proof, then we really need to be taking action about that. These are serious allegations.
88-year-old Irvin Miniszewski of Loveland died on September 2011. 6 weeks after his death, a vote was cast in his name.
We did find a single voter that did vote, a deceased voter that did vote, unfortunately.
So a dead person voted?
Dead person voted, yep.
The same records that still showed Emily as a qualified voter for this coming November 2nd election recorded her as actually voting in the presidential elections 2 years ago. But that's impossible because she was cremated 2 months before the election.
Your vote gets discounted because they come in with a burger on it and you can vote. People think, it's a liberal thing to do, but I take my vote seriously. And I don't want 10 other people coming in negating my vote by voting for the other candidate when they're not even registered voters.
Well, that video you just witnessed was the New York City Democrat Board of Election Commissioner admitting to systemic voter fraud. Voters are bussed from one polling station to another to vote multiple times. That's what you just saw.
5 boroughs, Staten Island results, Manhattan results, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens. All of these votes are placed in a black box. This black box is unaccountable, untestable, privately run software from the 2 companies that you have hired to count our votes. So when the votes come out of this black box, they do not reflect the New York City or the national votes. In 22 primaries, the votes have shifted in 20 of them. The exit polling data in New York State shifted 12%. A shift of 2% is fraud.
Why is Ellen Weintraub's seemingly harmless rhetoric such a problem, you might ask? The FEC is supposed to simply enforce foreign influence in our elections, not explore the censorship of Americans' free speech. You may contact the Federal Election Committee at 1-800-424-9530 from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time to exercise what is left of your Bill of Rights. Operators are standing by. John Bound reporting.
Bill Foster is a former educator for the state of Texas. Everything from teaching FFA and 4-H to being an actual school administrator. He is retired from his days of teaching and is operating Quail Whistle Vineyard out of Duster, Texas. Welcome to the show today, Bill Foster. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. We have had a great time. The couple times we've been on the phone, just kind of prepping for the episode. Just talking, you are probably one of the most casual and fun conversations I've had in I don't know how long, Bill. I have been greatly looking forward to this episode over the last couple days, and yeah, pardon the language, folks, but there is a shit-eating grin on my face right now just introducing Bill as I fail, because I always call the guests before the show and hey, yeah, let's kind of get in, let's get settled, comfortable. I'll tell you the lowdown on how we're going to intro and everything else. And it was just such a great conversation, just sitting back and talking with you.
Well, thank you.
And
I enjoyed it.
The other day when we were talking about how you and your wife started Quail Whistle Vineyard, it resonated with me so much, and reminded me of me and my wife, our podcast network, the things that we do to live our life passionately, to teach our 2-year-old son not to ignore those passions in his life, but to follow them, chase them doggedly. Give us a little bit of back history, because like I said in the intro, you are a former educator. Thank you for that. For helping to rear our children, and to bring up the next generation. Tell us, number one, how it was that you got into teaching, Bill, and what it was that led you from teaching into being a vineyard owner, into from caring of minds and souls to caring of crops.
Well, when I graduated in 1980, back a few years ago from high school, the economy was not the greatest in the world. It was coming off a big recession, and I love kids. I love the agriculture, but there's no way I could have made a living on a farm at that time. And so the next best thing I could do in college was either go to be an agriculture teacher, or I also was looking at, possibly a farm loan banker. And then in the back of my mind, law enforcement. Well, my parents, they quickly talked me out of law enforcement. So I went into the education field and loved it. I taught agriculture for 6 years and loved every minute. Taught kids how to weld. Taught them how farm carpentry and plant science, horticulture. We put a greenhouse in. We did a lot of things. Had a lot of fun. Built trailers. Just in the ag program, when I first started there in East Texas, I came in August and started the next week. It's one of those late hires. I didn't get worried I wasn't going to get a job that summer. And came in, they said, "You've got 15 kids. You've got to build your program." And I was like, holy moly. Well, when I left, 6 years after that, I had 125 kids enrolled. And so, really grew the program and got the kids, and they would have projects at home. And, and one thing about teaching ag is different than the classroom is, you make home visits. So you learn the parents, you learn the kids, you learn their home life and everything about them. And so it builds those bonds that you don't ever separate a little bit more. And then about starved to death as teacher, how the salary goes on that. My wife was teaching. So I became a principal then and jumped to the other side of the desk and was a principal for 15 years. In fact, in 2000, I was one of the finalists for elementary principal of the year in the state of Texas. And then after 15 years of principal, I decided, well, it's time to become a superintendent. And so I moved on from being a principal and went to 2 different schools and retired in 2016, January, as 11 years as being a school superintendent. And so that's kind of my education career. Served on a lot of state committees and things of that nature, all the way from district all the way up to the state level. And then retired, decided 33 years was enough torture for everybody. So I quit torturing everybody and get out of it. And we were sitting around a campfire, elk hunting up in Colorado. We were up about 11,000 feet, and we were sitting around a campfire talking. And one of the hunters mentioned that his brother had a winery and there's a shortage of grapes, and they couldn't find enough grapes. And then he changed the subject, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Let's go back to these grapes, because we were looking for something that we could plant to kind of sustain, make some money off the land we had. We had 12 acres where we were living at that time. And so we pursued that, did a lot of research, drilled a well because we knew it took water, hit water, was only going to make 7 gallons a minute. When the driller said it ain't going to make about 5 gallons a minute, and I thought, well, where we are, that's a gusher. Put a pump on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just took his finger and stuck it in the mud there on his truck and licked his finger and said, "It's going to be a little salty." And I was like, "How can you tell? You just licked mud."
Because mud shouldn't be salty either.
No,
that's why.
So we had the water tested, and it was a little too high in minerals for the grapes, and so I was depressed, and my wife said, "Well, what's Plan B?" And I said, "I don't have a Plan B." She said, "We'll find one." So we ended up finding a place over in Duster, Texas, which is west of De Leon, south of Gorman. And we went from 7 gallons a minute to this place we have now produces 150 to 200 gallons a minute. And so that's where we decided to put the vineyard and took our savings in and able to purchase this 34 acres. And we've been working on it ever since. We sold the place where we were. We had a 2,300 square foot home for 2 people. That's a lot of house for 2 people. So now we live in a house of 300 square foot.
Wow.
Kind of downsized a little bit.
Well,
we're going to eventually build a house, but, we're happy with what we got right now.
Well, and, it's interesting, Bill, because you just going through that process is a lot of how I explain to people to launch a business.
Exactly.
Don't worry about going whole hog. Worry about dipping your feet in, figure out what it's about. And, do it in baby steps. Do it in small steps.
Exactly.
Because you can try to eat the elephant all at one time, but it ain't going to work out too well.
No, and with vineyard, it's not going to come, it's 3 to 4 years before you get that first check for your grapes.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have to be prepared for that. And we've been in cattle business, and the same thing on cows. It's 3 years before you get a check, maybe,
Yep.
And so that didn't scare us off. And best thing we did was we hired a consultant, and I made a list through research of what kind of grapes I thought we wanted to grow. And luckily there was some on that list that he thought was the ones we need to grow. And so, we're not growing the ones that everybody already has.
Yeah.
So he helped us plant the plants that there will be a demand for later on. And right now we've got an acre of Chinot in the ground, which they'll be producing next year. And that'll be their 3rd year. And then we put an acre of Suzal in this year. And so, like I said, it'll be a couple of years before they produce. And then we've got ordered Petit Verdot and Mourvedre and another acre of Suzal. So that'll be going in the next year. So take it one acre at a time. That's the hardest part of the business, to put in. Once you get them in, it's take care of the plants. But boy, I tell you what, there's so many steps, so much expense. At the very beginning, that's what you've got to really plan for. How big do I want my vineyard? And let's start small and go from there. So, and being teaching welding and everything, and doing all the work myself nearly. My wife helps. We hire seasonal help, but you got lots of pipe driving and posters. There's probably 2,000 steel posters put in the ground right now. So I just go out there every day and put me 2 or 3 in right now. And started that, but you just take it little baby steps, like you said, and work a little every day, and just keep going, and it keeps you busy for sure.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. Once you've taken on any kind of, especially agricultural, horticultural project, anything like that, especially to scale, there's a reason why farmers get up at 4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Why they're on a tractor by like 5, and it cracks me up because you mutually know John Hall as well. And I love seeing the pictures of him on the weekend, just like out on the farm on the tractor, just doing his thing, and it's like, oh, that's nice. That's nice. And it's been interesting to see this return in America, to things like this, to things like small community farming, to things like Mark Marchand, who we had on a couple weeks ago with Marchand Heritage Brooms, just saying, like, if Go out and buy a broom. Like, go out and spend $15 on a broom and see how well it works.
There you go.
It was like, there's something to the handmade quality. There's something to the material that's used to make a handmade broom that just sweeps better than the synthetic crap and the horrible, horrible straw brooms that you get. You know?
Oh, yeah. And, Texas wines, they're winning awards against California and all the others. It's just as good.
Yeah.
And and the wineries are just, we've already got all of our grapes sold that are spoken for and haven't even harvested any of them yet because there's such a demand for them. And you figure out what you're going to make per ton, and each variety brings a different amount. We're looking at probably 4 tons an acre on all of our varieties, anywhere, 3.5 to 5 tons. And it's labor intensive. You pick them all by hand, but that's why, we're looking at 6 acres and stopping at 6 acres and seeing how that goes. We actually have 34 acres and probably could plant another 15 acres of grapes on that. But, how much do we want to involve outside labor? How much do we want to do ourselves? That's a business expense you got to look at and plan. But, the thing is, the plants, if nothing kills them, they'll live 50 to 100 years. And that's something for our kids. If they, when we get too old, they'll have a vineyard full production right there.
Yeah. Yeah, so. Exactly. And there really is something, like you were saying, having been involved with livestock, that kind of stuff of, I was just explaining it to somebody at a mixer the other night that if you go into a business without a 5-year plan, you're probably going to fail within year 1 or 2.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Because you haven't considered the steps that it's going to take for you to get to the point of break even. Which even if like you want to do a business like what I do or go out and like run sound for bands, it's going to take you an outlay of cash to get the equipment to get it done.
That's exactly right.
And
I was complaining. I complained to a friend, how much it was taking up front, and he said, "Well, how much? Look at cows. Look at any business." And I was like, "Yeah, well, you're right. It's just going to take. It takes it up front to get started.
It does.
You got to project how long it will be before you start doing that break even and making money on it. So that is a projection you have to get."
Now, what were some of the barriers that you ran up against as you and your wife began this venture? I know that you
First,
said
we
that
had to have water.
Yeah, exactly. You had to find new property to find water, but what were there any kind of like licensing issues, anything like that to have to go through, any hoops to go through to be able to sell product to vintners?
No, nothing like that. But the property we bought was it was a diamond in the rough. I mean, it was rough, and so we had to, get dozers and have them clear out a fence row. We had to build a 8-foot barrier fence all the way around the 34 acres to prevent the deer and the wild hogs from coming in and eating everything we plant. They love grapes. And they'll eat them to the ground in your investment. And then, once you hit, and 34 acres is exactly 1 mile around. So we had 1 mile of high fence to build. And so once we got it cleared off, then we had to build a fence. And then at the same time, you're trying to prepare the soil and get it ready and to plant. And then you have to lay out the how you want the vineyard and drive those end posts in. And so that's your infrastructure, your plumbing infrastructure, so you can get water to the plants. All at the same time, you're trying to fix that house up so you can live. Even though it's 300 square foot, you're trying to get it where it's livable at the same time. So, it took a while to get where we are, even though it's just been a couple of years. If I had to do it over again, I'd probably do more infrastructure work before I got to plants. Try to get all that little more stabilized. But then again, if you don't have the plants in, you don't have any revenue coming in. So that's the reason we went with plants early, so we could get in 3 years start having some revenue to start help generate revenue. So that's where we are right now. Is next year we'll have our first small crop, and then it'll just start multiplying after that.
Wow, that is awesome, man. And what has excuse me, what has this done for you and your wife? Not just as a couple, but as individuals, because it can be not only wearing, personally, spiritually, most definitely, but how has it changed y'all? How has it changed the, I guess, dynamic in y'all's relationship?
We know we've got a goal, and we've been married 36 years, but we've got a goal now of getting this vineyard going. And so we work together, and the way she does it, she says, you do, there's certain things that she can't do. And so she'll do the things she can, like mow. It takes a lot of mowing to get, upkeeping of the vineyard. And so she does lots of mowing, and we work together every day in there. And what's nice is to be able to go up and down the rows of the vineyard together in our golf cart and look at the different plants and visit and, have a beverage as we drive, and just visit, out in the vineyard. It's so peaceful out there, our nearest neighbor's probably a mile away. And so we just enjoy the outdoor scenery and the outdoor of it all working together, whether we're tying plants up or pruning. We're pruning together on our golf cart. And this year we had to prune them off really close to the ground. So I'm sitting on the side of the golf cart and she's driving. We're talking and listening to the radio as we go down through the vineyard, and I'm pruning, and she gets me up close to them when that was so much easier than trying to walk and squat and not do all that, So we just do that as a couple and work together as we go.
Now, what was it? Because, of course, you taught, like you said, you taught 4-H for years. You taught agriculture, that kind of stuff. What was it that made you, because you probably could have used the property just as easily for goats, alpaca,
Sure.
Anything of that, right? Especially if you're having to do regular mowing, that kind of stuff. What was it that made you eventually go with going with the horticulture side of things?
Yeah, and we like the horticulture better, and it's more sustainable as far as once you get the plants in the ground, and they don't get out in the middle of the night. They don't bust the fence down.
Yeah. The only poop you're finding is the stuff that you put there on purpose.
That's right. I've been called at 2 a.m. by the deputy sheriff's office or the sheriff's office. Had calves out. So one night I'm out there at 2:30 in the morning with a flashlight between my legs, patching fence, gnats are flying up my nose, and I'm saying, "Boy, this is fun, ain't it?"
Yeah.
But so that's kind of why we decided to go the horticulture route rather than the livestock. We'll eventually, fence it off to where we can have some sheep again. I really like raising sheep. They're pretty neat, and they're smaller than the cattle, a little easier to work with. But right now, things have to be fenced off and pens because we have predators and things of that nature. So that's why we're looking for that some type of crop that you could do on small acreage, and that's what got us started on the vineyard. Because you look at everything, hay, you can grow hay, but it doesn't make very much on a small acreage.
Mm-hmm.
So we started looking at the vineyards because you can grow a lot of grapes in a small area, and you can actually have what they call a micro vineyard where the rows are only like 4 foot apart, and you go up and down them.
And that's some of the stuff that I wanted to have you on to talk about, was especially backyard vineyards. There has been a huge resurgence, like I said, of community gardens, that kind of thing. Huge resurgence of backyard gardens. Like I was telling you on the phone the other day, my grandfather had a garden that was smooth half of his backyard. You couldn't play in any of it. It was good for nothing for us as kids. And the other half was taken up by a big fig tree and a tangerine tree and a greenhouse. So you definitely couldn't go in the greenhouse, and don't mess with the fig tree and the tangerine tree. So you could go back there and sit and look at some stuff, maybe shoot the BB gun off into the woods, but there was jack all to play with in the backyard. There's a great family story of my grandfather thinking that the worms had gotten to his tangerine tree. So he started picking up some tangerine because he's going outside to mow his lawn. He's like, what the hell are all my tangerines doing on the ground? Like, it's just now tangerine season. He starts looking and seeing little holes in all of them. He cuts one open and starts finding my BBs inside. And there wasn't much else to shoot at back there, Papa. I'm sorry. I
know of people that's made a neighborhood vineyard. They all go in, and then when they pick the grapes, they divide up the wine that they've made from it.
Yeah.
All of them have, get several bottles of wine from their vineyard. I know some people that have just 2 or 3 rows because just depends on how much wine you want to make. It doesn't take a whole lot.
Well, you could use the same grapes to make jellies, all kinds of stuff. Jellies, preserves.
Just eat them. And what people don't realize is the wine grapes are very sweet to eat. They do have seeds, and the skin's a little tougher than your table grapes, but that's what flavors the wine, is that thick tannin in the skin.
Yeah.
And but I ate some yesterday. We got 2 or 3 little pods out there, and check them since they're ripe. They're very, very sweet. So get the seeds out and keep them rock and rolling. But you can make jelly, you can make some wine, you can do a lot of things in just a backyard vineyard, just a small 2 or 3 rows.
Well, and let's get into that a little bit. Let's say someone like myself, I have probably a backyard that encompasses maybe 50 foot by 50 foot, something like that. What would it take for me to be able to get like a small three-row vineyard going on in my own backyard?
Well, you're going to space them about 4.5 foot apart, and so you measure out your rows, and you can figure about $5 to $6 per plant, and you're going to have your in rows, and you're going to have wire that will grow on them. So get your infrastructure going first, and a small one like that, you can water it with your regular city water, but if you got a big one, it's not economically feasible like ours. But a small one, it's easy to do, and go to your internet and decide how you want to put your trellis up, and get your trellis set up, and then you're probably going to figure, time it's all said and done, figure $10 a plant, counting all the trellis and everything. So plant your 1 row this year, and you can do different varieties. You have to look at the frost line on your varieties. If you got a early frost, if you live in South Texas, you don't have to worry about too much. But up northern Texas, you got to watch for the early frost. So we've got late varieties that come on late in the spring. And so, you look at your different varieties. It may just be kind of wine you like. If you like Cab, you like Merlot or whatever, and find something that'll grow nice in your backyard, in your area.
Well, and Bill, with that in mind, what kind of water consumption would somebody be looking at in a plot that big?
Probably, it's going to take 2 gallons per plant every other day to establish. Now, in the wintertime, it's not that much, but like right now, you can figure a couple of gallons per plant every other day.
Okay, so that is utterly doable, folks. You could go out right now and probably find on Craigslist a good 2 or 3 PCB-free food-grade barrels that you could absolutely set up with a soaker hose and a timer and collect your own rainwater. Still legal in Texas. Not so much in many other states, but you can still collect rainwater here, consarn it, and you should.
It should, yes.
The city of Houston actually started offering, not even offering rebates, because, being from Houston, it's just flood zone. So if we see flat ground, we go, cool, we need a parking lot and a retention pond. That way we can put a shopping center there, see, and the retention pond will hold all the water that the earth was supposed to hold that we put concrete in. But they literally tell you whenever you're building new driveways in Houston how much water you should collect to offset what your driveway is taking up in ground soaking.
And it's just hard to believe. Some states won't allow you to collect the rainwater.
Yeah. Yeah, it technically belongs to the state.
Yes.
Yeah, because
But
it would become part of the mineral rights of the state. It would become part of the water rights, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we were going to collect rainwater at our other place, and I had it all designed out so we could get that extra water. But when we moved over here, we don't have the roof system yet, but we'll be collecting it the same way. But yeah, you could collect rainwater and you pump it out to your vines, and you can space, and you don't have, like ours are 10 or 11 foot apart as far as in between them, so we get a tractor down them, but you don't have to do that in your backyard.
No.
4 foot wide, and, plants over 4.5 feet, and however long you want to make the rows, and make enough to make your own wine. There is places that will do the wine for you.
Yep.
Carry your grapes down there, and for a price, they'll make it, bottle it, and put it. And then you have your own label, and you go home, and you've got a case of wine.
Well, there are places here in Austin and all over the U.S., folks, all over the world. The one here in Austin that I was going to talk to a while back, I need to go back and talk to him, is called Water to Wine. And you literally go in, you get like your own little locker, you get to make your own wine, you bring in your ingredients, whatever. So it's
we go to Fredericksburg, and as soon as we tell them, we go to a winery and we're tasting their wines, and wine all tastes different. You have to find the kind you like for those that don't drink wine. But as soon as we tell them what we're doing, they stop everything. Let me get you our owner's card. He's going to want to talk to you.
Yeah,
because everybody wants those grapes, and so if you can do it on a commercial scale like we're playing, or just a personal scale, just to make how neat is it to be able to sit on the back porch and pour a couple of glasses of wine for you and your company and say, I grew this right over there.
Yeah. And wine is not incredibly difficult to make, especially in small batch.
Right.
It's whenever you're talking about bottling cases and cases and cases of wine that it's going to get like inordinately crazy for you. But if you're just trying to make, if you're trying to make like a 5-6 gallon jugs of wine, I think you're going to be fine with whatever you make in your backyard.
Yeah, I think we're looking at an estimated 15,000 bottles of wine per acre.
Wow.
That's what it looks like it will. They're supposed to produce, your 4 tons, figure up, how much 1 ton, how many bottles will 1 ton make. And then you figure 4 tons times 6 acres, 24 tons of grapes. That's a lot of grapes.
Yeah. Wow. That's like an entire bottling run for some vineyards. 15,000 bottles. That is crazy.
And we're planting all reds. Whites are a little tougher to grow, so we're going with all reds. And that's the kind we like to drink anyway. And but the varieties that we've mentioned earlier that can be either made into wine of that one species or one viticulture of, let's say, Tannat. You can have Tannat wine, but a lot of people would use that as a blended wine and take say 75% Cabernet and 25% Tannat, or any of that. You go to your shelf, you see a red blend. A lot of places do not put the recipe or the percentages on there, but some do.
Yeah,
it's pretty neat to see what all they put into the wine. So Syrah, there's a lot of people putting in Syrah, Petite Syrah in wine, just like 10 or 15% or whatever. Just gives it a little different taste. And that's what everybody's trying to do, is get a little different taste so you like theirs better.
Yeah.
But, the Mourvedre is a really dark blood red, really dry wine. Love it. I do. But it's probably going to be too dry for a lot of people. So, they mix it with a lot of others to get a really good, bold taste in that other wine. So it's really blossoming right now in the state of Texas, the wine industry. It's really taking off.
Yeah.
And we just look forward to you better.
Yeah, there are wine tours, wine trails all over the place, vineyards almost everywhere. My niece just got a job at a vineyard out near Dripping Springs.
Exactly.
And
we're talking 6 acres. They're talking 400 acres. They're quitting cotton, taking out the cotton and putting in vineyards.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's more money to be made in that. They've already got the irrigation system set up.
Yep.
So you go out there to Brownsfield and around there, and it's just nothing but wineries and vineyards. It's amazing how Texas is taking off.
Now, a lot that goes into the growing of the grape to get the flavor that you're talking about has to do with not only the water that's being used, but the soil that it's grown in. What should people be looking for if they're trying to start their own plot of grapes, anything like that? What are some of the better growing conditions that people should be looking for in their soil and water?
Actually, the soil is the worse the soil, the better the wine is. In reality,
yeah.
Because when the grape is stressing, it makes a sweeter. It produces more sugar and makes a sweeter wine. So, but we've got sandy loam where we're at, and so we bought a variety that's grafted onto a different root system that will slow down the growth, because in a really good sandy loam soil with lots of water, it's going to grow a bunch of vines and a bunch of leaves.
Yeah.
So you'd rather grow more grapes. So they're grafted onto a root system that's going to slow that growth down. But and two, when you graft them on there, they're a little more disease resistant and everything like that. So that's where the expert will come in and say, okay, what kind of land do you have? This is what kind of root system you need for your grapes. And then you can grow pretty much any variety you want to. It's just a matter of getting that root system done right.
Yeah, other than your general backyard muscadine.
Right. And if you got muscadine, you kill every one of them suckers. You can make wine out of it, but
you can.
They will try to cross with your vines and mess it all up.
Oh, yeah. They are invasive and hard invasive.
Yes, and they attract insects that you don't want around yours. And so right now we've been real lucky. There's an insect called sharpshooter. You got to really protect against just a little bitty bug that once they dig into the trunk, it kills the vine. But we've been real lucky not to have any of those. Our biggest predator right now is grasshoppers.
Yeah.
And we can spray and pretty well control them. And of course, there's all kinds of mildew and things like that you just have to always be prepared to spray and do. Organic grape wine growing is just about impossible right now. They just don't have the hybrid or the fortitude to get through a bunch of things that prey on them. So I've read over and over, the organic people have tried to do an organic vineyard, and it just hardly will work.
Yeah.
I have not seen one yet that's been successful. Just too many predators in it.
Well, and that doesn't mean that you have to go around using a bunch of glyphosate, things like that, folks. There are numerous things that you can do to naturally get rid of a lot of these predators, things like that. What are some of the natural solutions that you use in the vineyard to get rid of these critters?
We use a lot of things. Main thing is try to keep your plant healthy, because I believe that if a plant's unhealthy, it attracts those critters. I think they can pick them out.
Yeah.
And so that's what you got to watch out for. So we water a lot since we have a lot of water. And but we do have to use poisons because we're so big. The backyard viticulturist or the vineyard could use a lot of different things, baking soda, different things like that, pepper spray, things trying to keep the varmints off, because it's such a small acreage compared to ours.
Yeah.
We've got 2,000 plants versus somebody's got 10. It makes a big difference. But keeping those plants healthy is the main thing. Like I said, I believe that when a plant's in stress and hurting, that everything around can figure out. Because how many times you look out there, there's a tree just starting to die, and all of a sudden there's bugs all over it, or a plant that's trying to die, and all of a hedge or something. And all of a sudden you look out there and there's just plant. I think it gives off some kind of signal or smell or something that attracts
sure.
Those,
there's definitely a chemical change going on. The ratio of oxygen to carbon dioxide is different.
Yeah.
Like mosquitoes track us via carbon dioxide at night.
Yeah,
That's
and so
like,
those critters start smelling it or sensing
most definitely.
They head that direction, and so we try to. We go to our vineyard every day, checking it, looking at it, and walking through it, and just trying to figure out, making sure and staying on top of things. And, our biggest problem right now is we've got drippers that all it takes is just a little bit of sand to stop up. So, we're always pulling drippers and replacing and cleaning. And so that way that water gets to that plant, because you can always tell, because one beside it's really dark green and that one is a little pale. So whoops, not getting the water like we're supposed to. And so we walk up and down our rows at least every other day, if not every day sometimes. So and it's just nice. It's good exercise, but it's nice just to get out there and walk up and down them, or take the golf cart and go up and down them, just checking all of them out, looking at them and watching them grow. You get attached to them. You're like, oh man, I hated to lose that one. I don't know what caused it, but it died or whatever. We had some hail last year. We had some high winds that took out some of ours, broke them off, and so some of them got set back. But we just keep on trucking and keep pruning them and keep trying to keep them going up.
Yeah,
upward.
Here's a personal question for you. How did being an educator prepare you for being a vineyard owner?
Well, you teach those principles to the kids, like we talked about earlier, of good business savvy and making out that plan, and not just going just a whim. Let's put a vineyard. Okay, let's order 1,000 plants. Now where we're going to put them? It took a lot of planning. We planned probably a year before we ever got involved in, just trying to figure out, make sure that plan was going to work. And so that was it. And plus knowing the knowledge of the dirt, the soil, and when they talk about fertilizers and they talk about pesticides, knowing what to do with all those, and being able to do, we talked about off the air, being able to work on your motors and construction and all that, because you're constantly working on your equipment and building things. So that's what, transferring all that, what we were teaching over into that. Plus, it just getting up and going to work every day, which a lot of people can't do. You got to do that as a vineyard owner. You're going to have to get up every day and go check them. It takes that self-dedication.
Well, and it takes a totally different level of motivation.
Exactly.
It blows my wife's mind that even as much as I'm on the road, we own a podcast network. There's a general amount of work that needs doing to begin with. Just upkeep, the way that things are integrated, things like that. They have to be maintained.
Exactly.
And somebody's got to do it, and I can't pay anybody to do it, so I'm doing it.
And when we would have kids would get their project animal or a garden or whatever it is, they would learn that they had money invested in that, and they had to go out there, had to have the self-discipline to go out there and feed them every day and check them every day and work with them. And so you have that same thing. When you get that much money invested, you're going to go out there and check it. You get that much money invested in your podcast, you're going to make sure that you do your podcast. Because you don't want it just sitting over there. And so you got that business plan, you're sticking to it. There's things that'll deviate from it, as you go, but you just got to keep that long range goal in mind of what that successful vineyard is going to be. And they grow fast, and the vines do, but it's really neat to be able to drive up and down them and just look at them. And next year they'll be 6 foot tall versus 4 foot tall. And it's just really, really neat to see those mature plants, and can't wait to start seeing grapes hanging down from them all, and we start harvesting. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. Just the blessing that you and your wife have to be able to follow your dream, follow your passion. It's something that I wish more people would activate themselves toward. No, it's not easy, everybody. Like I was saying, there's a relative amount of work that has to always be done when you are self-employed.
And just that self-discipline. But when I retired, I said I wasn't going to sit around and watch TV all day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because being a principal superintendent, you're so active till, you're going to rest. You're going to take it a lot easier than what we did. But the last thing we want to do is just retire and go to the couch.
Yeah.
And so that's why we decided to start looking at different things that we could do that would bring additional income and keep us healthy from here to the very end. And so we had to go with vineyard, and because and like I said, kind of a small area that for required versus 200 or 300 acres trying to make it on wheat, which I grew up on.
Yep.
Wheat crops and hay crops and all that. Take a small acreage and turn a profit on it with the vineyard.
Yeah, precisely. And very well done. Good on you for being able to do it and for doing it. Continue doing it. So, where can everybody go to, I guess, find out more about Quail Whistle Vineyard? Where can they go to find out more about, like, backyard horticulture? What are some of the resources that you used to give kids to go check out? Things like that.
There is numerous on the internet. If you'll go to, there's Texas Wine, I believe it's Texas Wine Pass, something like that. There's 2 or 3 organizations on the internet. I can't remember the exact name of them. There's a book written by a professor out of A&M, Growing Grapes in Texas. It's an excellent resource. I've read that book frontwards and backwards, upside down, and it's every which way it could be read. That was the first book I bought and it's through the Texas A&M Extension Service, and that's another really good area. You can go to the Texas Agriculture website. They've got some places in there for information on the vineyard. But that one book, and I wish I could remember the author's name, but it helped us more than anything other than hiring our advisor, Fritz Westover, and he does a great job for us. That he saved us a lot of money just by keeping us from making those accidents, planting the wrong variety or something like that, or what to do in certain situations. Once we thought we had a fungus, and turns out it's just our water. It was causing a little bit of red tinge to the leaves. So we were able to call him, and now he's like, "No, don't worry about it. It's just your water. You're good." Had a little iron in the water or something like that, caused the leaves to turn a little bit. And so, but yeah, that one book, I read it over and over, and it really did help us. So if you're interested in starting a vineyard, that's where I would go, is Growing Grapes in Texas. And you can find it on the Ag Extension, Texas A&M Extension Service website. And that's the best book you can buy right there.
All right. Fantastic, man. Thank you so much once again for coming on, sharing your story, sharing the story of the dream and passion that you and your wife have for Quail Whistle Vineyard. Please do hold the line for me real quick as we close out, and I'll get right back with you. While you're online checking out all the great resources that Bill was just talking about, everybody, please do make sure to go on by dudesandbeer.com. That is where you can find all the episodes. That is where you can find the Knowledge Vault, all the great patents of Nikola Tesla, declassified government programs, all kinds of great other documentation inside of there. You can also go check out our episodes on the HC Universal Network. Make sure to download the free HC Universal Network app. It is like a party in your pocket, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for all of your involvement on social media lately on the Dudes and Beer Facebook page, Dudes and Beer Facebook group as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And remember, if you can't be good at it. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dudes and Beer Podcast. To listen to our audio streams or chat with us live, download the official Dudes and Beer app for Android and iDevices, available on Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Breach.tv, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more about our sponsors and other podcasts on this network, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, everybody. And until next time, drink responsibly.